Happy holidays! I hope you're enjoying the festive season with plenty of film watching. I just finished my annual Film Advent Calendar Challenge, where I watched 24 films in 24 days and uploaded shorts reviewing them. This is a compilation of all 24 reviews for those of you that missed them or aren't a fan of the shorts format, and I'll be back soon with another video of my top 10 films of 2024. Day 1. Challenges, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I imagine that the way in which this film portrays tennis comes close to the actual experience of playing it professionally. From the adrenaline-fueled techno score to the extravagantly creative camera work, and especially during the matches, the unrelenting pace of the edit. It is truly an exhilarating cinematic experience and a very refreshing take on a sports film, especially one about tennis. The central drama amongst the throuple has unexpected power shifts that are exceedingly entertaining. Zendaya works tirelessly as puppet master whilst the men manage to express a fun and convincingly sincere male friendship. The collision of both forces inspires a multifaceted exploration of love, lust, power, and success, with the distinction between friends and enemies becoming increasingly muddied. Day 2. Gladiator II, an epic legacy sequel from Ridley Scott. This action film exaggerates its historical details in order to put on a better show for cinema audiences now, much like gladiators did in arenas past. There are moments when these exaggerations distract from the emotional journey of Lucius, who, compared to Maximus, is a far less heroic protagonist, and, as aptly described by Denzel Washington's character, is more motivated by rage, which leads to a more excessive and brutal film. Nevertheless, the spectacle is impressive, especially on an IMAX screen, but it's certainly less moving than its predecessor. The script was a bit repetitive and felt especially bloated at the start, where the inciting incident was copy-pasted from Gladiator. But overall, I can't fault the epic experience of watching cinema at its biggest and most wonderfully ridiculous. Day 3. Gundi, Legend of Love, a biopic about one of Bulgaria's most beloved and famous footballers, Georgi Asparuhov, which has broken all-time box office records in Bulgaria. As the title suggests, this film is about love, and this universal theme is beautifully explored in multiple ways. Most obviously, Gundi's love of football and of Lita, but also his love of Bulgaria itself. And it's wonderful to see such a big film come out of the country, and its success proves that there's certainly desire for more like it. Despite spanning so many years of his life, this film doesn't fall into the biopic trap of trying to cram in too much information. Instead, it keeps the pace with a creative edit that makes for a focused and compelling story, which is funny, moving, inspiring, and entertaining. Day 4. We Live in Time, an unsurprisingly emotional love story about a modern couple played by Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I love a good romance/comedy/drama, with the emphasis being on just how good this one is. This is because of how well balanced the story is between showing the highs and lows of life. Neither character is overly heroic or unrealistically optimistic. They're normal people facing some of life's biggest questions and challenges. Garfield and Pugh have enormous rapport and chemistry, with Pugh's character being sufficiently progressive without being spoiled by wokeness, whilst Garfield's character is a more believable and self-aware version of the British Mr. Darcy stereotype. Plus, though the ending is predictable, it manages not to be devastatingly traumatic, which bodes well for this film's rewatchability. Day 5. My Old Ass, a short and sweet coming-of-age tale. The idea of being able to talk to your future or younger self respectively is a fantastic premise. The conversations that the Elliots have with each other are both silly and profound, but it's their individual interpretation of how time passes relating to their age that I found most compelling, especially when connected to the underlying sci-fi thread of the premise, the clever exploration of which was unexpected deep. As with director Megan Park's previous film, The Fallout, she shows an incredible understanding of the trials and tribulations of the younger generation, and I would have enjoyed more time with Aubrey Plaza's older Elliot in this film to learn more about what Park imagines will happen in Gen Z's future. Day 6. The Fall Guy. A Hollywood whodunit dedicated to the unsung heroes of the film industry, stunt people. This is a perfectly entertaining Gosling flick with plenty of fun action and exciting plot twists. But those who understand movie set culture will get a bit more out of the experience, as much of the comedy is centered on the in-jokes within the filmmaking process. The depiction of that process is a little exaggerated, but not that far from the truth. And it was very satisfying when the film being made within the plot affected the one we're watching. It has similar self-aware humor like Barbie does, with Gosling essentially playing a cooler version of his tongue-in-cheek Ken, thanks to the stunt team of course. Thankfully, Emily Blunt's character makes for a far more complex Barbie. Day 7. Civil War. An unglorified depiction of conflict shown through the lens of the journalists who capture it. Writer-director Alex Garland has repeatedly proven his proficiency in the sci-fi genre, and this film is no exception. However, though the backstory is there, learning every detail about the war is not the goal. It's the backdrop for a story about friendship, humanity, and finding life's purpose. The setup is fantastic, but unfortunately the illogical demise of one of the characters near the ending lets it down, especially when compared to a previous twist that was more cleverly foreshadowed and executed. Watching this film alongside another 2024 release, the biopic Lee, will give you a superb insight into the responsibility that comes with being a war photographer from past, present, and future perspectives. Day 8. The Outrun, a unique exploration of addiction that's based on a true story. What makes this depiction of alcoholism different is how the Orkney Islands become a character in Rona's life to outmatch the role of alcohol. It's a refreshing take on a predictable story, and I especially enjoyed the juxtapositions that were presented. Some of these were psychological, such as loneliness being both a cause and part of the solution to the problem. Some of them were physical, like how the hustle and bustle of London reminds Rona of the natural Orkney environment. This makes the film a far more multifaceted experience, as it's not just Rona's story but also an opportunity to learn more about this area of Scotland, which is a brilliant use of cinema. Day 9. Paddington in Peru. Another superbly written addition to this adorable franchise. I thought I'd make it through this one without crying, but Paddington managed it again with a moving speech saying it's okay to have mixed feelings about where you're from, a speech I think more people should hear. Ben Whishaw's calming voice coming from that beautifully animated bear continues to be a truly perfect depiction of this quintessential British icon. Sally Hawkins is missed as Mary Brown, and I think that's what makes this the least well rated out of the three films. However, Emily Mortimer does a great job and is supported by the delightful Antonio Banderas and always effervescent Olivia Colman. We think it's the perfect feel-good film to put on during the holidays, or any day, frankly, and I'd highly recommend staying for the post-credit scenes. Day 10. Small Things Like These, based on the true history of the brutal Magdalen laundries where unwed mothers were sent. This film focuses on coal merchant Bill, showing how he built up the courage to act out against the injustice that he witnesses. Then the film ends. We don't see the value of his act, we just assume or hope that he helped. It's certainly an interesting perspective, but I can't help feeling that it would have achieved the same impact as a 20-minute short. The main issue I had was with the pace. I can understand Bill being an awkward introvert who finds it difficult to start a conversation, but I do not understand why all of the dialogue from all of the characters was so slow and laboured. Day 11. Our Little Secret. A Christmas rom-com starring Lindsay Lohan, which is, thankfully, better written than her previous attempt. This festive film won't reawaken the magic of the season anytime soon, but it is a nice and easy watching experience. The Mean Girls reunion with Lohan and Tim Meadows is wholesome for those that care, and the whole cast seem to be enjoying themselves, with Kristen Chenoweth taking home some of the best lines, both in writing and delivery. Lohan and Harding have a great rapport, which sells their supposed friendship since they were teenagers relationship backstory. And I thought their deal to exchange her business expertise with his people skills was quite a nice change from the usual and eye-roll-inducing Saving Christmas storyline. Day 12, Deadpool and Wolverine, which utilizes the multiverse to bring back Logan, this time with his iconic yellow costume. I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so this film was not a top priority for me when it came out. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it precisely because it makes fun of the cinematic universe that it's from, in particular when breaking the fourth wall. The success of the comedy depends on how much you enjoy Ryan Reynolds' deadpan style of humor, which I personally find hilarious, and I think it really suits Deadpool, especially when juxtaposed with Wolverine's angry pessimism. Plus, the cameos were great and the soundtrack made my millennial heart dance. Fans may know of ways that it lets down its comic book origins, but from my perspective, it succeeds in delivering more of the enjoyable, light-hearted action that Deadpool's cinematic trilogy is known for. Day 13, Sleeping Dogs, based on a book that cleverly features within the film itself. If you're hoping for an action-packed thriller, you'd likely be disappointed, as this film is more of a modern film noir, with mysteries slowly getting unraveled as Crow's character overcomes his Alzheimer's. It's an infamous story trope, but they've added a medical trial as a reason to bring back the memories, to try and remedy the convenience of when they return. It's fun to debate who's done it if you're watching with other people, and the final reveal had both expected and unexpected twists. I also liked how the puzzle pieces from the marketing are not just an afterthought but actually part of the story. Otherwise, it's a pretty forgettable film, which I think, as Karen Gillan's character says, would have been a lot better with whiskey. Day 14, Nightb, a weird and wonderful exploration of motherhood. As the title suggests, this film does not hold back when showing the truly awful parts of parenting a young child, led by an outstanding performance by Amy Adams. It looks at the biological and physical changes that mothers go through and the incredible toll it takes on their mental health. This is especially relevant to contemporary Western cultures, where mothers are much lonelier compared to the whole village parenting of the past, and still many Eastern cultures. Contrary to the normal effect of surrealist cinema being to make the audience uncomfortable, I actually found the surreal parts of this film helpful in lightening the mood, which speaks volumes to the themes of the story. I also liked how problems were confronted without villainizing the father, but rather including him in the conversation. To top it all off, it's filmed and edited beautifully. Day 15, Kneecap, a rambunctious and patriotic ode to Ireland and the Irish language. What I found most astounding about this film are the debut performances given by the real-life hip-hop trio who are playing themselves after having done only 6 months of acting classes prior to filming. They might not be your typical role models, but their commitment to the film sells their commitment to the causes within the film, in celebrating, protecting, and promoting their country in their own way, substances and swear words in tow. It's some of the best storytelling that I've seen in a while, and part of that comes from not wasting time with unnecessary drama or in glorifying themselves, which many musicians do. You can even see this in the cleanness of the subplot arcs, making us care just enough about the parental exchanges and quickfire love story without removing from the explosive central biopic. Day 16, Speak No Evil, which examines just how much a person can get away with before anyone speaks up. I can't comment on how this American remake compares to its barely 2-year-old Danish original. However, I can say that it thoroughly impressed me. James McAvoy is exceptionally good at playing a villain hidden in plain sight, with his ability to be both charismatic and deeply discomforting within one look or line. What surprised me was just how many times I found myself siding with him when dealing with the somewhat stereotyped but nonetheless annoying American family. It's probably my Eastern European upbringing, but it did mean that I had a bigger moral conflict as a viewer when it came to the disappointingly pleasant ending, which is really the only letdown of this otherwise darkly revealing exploration of human nature. Day 17, The Substance, a grotesque but undeniably effective critique on contemporary beauty standards and their consequences on women, especially with regards to aging. Plainly inspired by the king of venereal horror David Cronenberg, Coralie Farja presents an extreme body horror that's certainly not for the squeamish. The sci-fi premise is fascinating and not overly explained, which may annoy some people, but I thought it suited the clean-cut style of the camera work, editing, and sound design. design. The 3-act structure works well, and the no-holds-barred ending is well worth the wait, because of how it relates the personal crisis of our protagonist to the industry and audiences that made her that way. However, it took too long to get there, with a lot of unnecessary repetition in Act 2 that served only to reiterate the same points. Day 18, Twisters, a standalone sequel to the iconic 90s film. I'm not saying we should keep recycling the same story every 30 years, but I'm also not going to get angry at a perfectly decent disaster film. It's well acted, funny, and entertaining, whilst still managing to spread awareness about an important environmental topic. That's definitely more than most disaster films do, for sure. The way they mixed VFX with practical effects creates a visceral atmosphere both for the actors and for the audience. Throughout the film, you can feel a deep appreciation of Oklahoma and the resilient people who live there, undoubtedly in part due to the director's connection to the area. Also, it was interesting to learn more about the storm chaser culture and how they express their fear, admiration, and respect for Mother Nature. Day 19, The Apprentice, a biopic about Donald Trump and his mentor Roy Cohn that's as fascinating behind the camera as it is in front. It's written by a reputable journalist, which, unlike many biopics, ensures good historical veracity. And it's directed by an Iranian-Danish director, which might explain how down-to-earth it feels considering the subject matter. Plus, they match the visual style to the era being shown through documentary-style cinematography and color grade. The performances are all fantastic, but Sebastian Stan is particularly impressive in giving us a well-balanced likeness that never feels overdone or mocking. Of course, it is a film that relies heavily on the audience being a fan of or open-minded enough to care about Trump's character arc, and you may not like the result, but the journey makes for an interesting film. Day 20, Juror Number 2, a slow and steady legal drama directed by the great Clint Eastwood. This film does to its audience what the characters go through within the film. We become the jury, left to debate what justice really is, both within the context of the case given and generally. It's certainly a great conversation starter, but I didn't find it as compelling as I thought I would overall, with some confusing moments. For example, Justin's relationship with his AA leader / lawyer feels like a meaningless afterthought, which it may well have been if the IMDb trivia about Sutherland asking to be in this film is true. It also seems to end twice, with a conversation between Justin and the prosecutor cutting straight to her being at his door. And I think they missed an opportunity for J.K. Simmons to come back and be there instead of her. Day 21, Trap, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The trailer to this film is very misleading, as I was looking forward to a tense thriller set in one location, with a guilty protagonist that will go to any lengths to escape. That is certainly not what you get, and perhaps you'd like this film more if you didn't have any expectations going in. Everything that's in the trailer, including the best bits of the film, happen within the first half. Cooper has quite a decent character arc, and Hartnett plays him well, but the dialogue lets him down massively. Then, once the action leaves the stadium, we're left wondering why the heck we're stuck watching this pop star. The reason is that she is Shyamalan's daughter, and I can't fault the guy for trying to be a good dad, but she's not quite ready to play a main character just yet. Overall, it's fine, but that premise had so much more potential. Day 22, Inside Out 2, which is basically more of the original but with a teenage protagonist. It's magical. What can I say? When Pixar nails a concept, they really nail it. And unlike Cars, this concept has incredible potential for multiple sequels as our minds and emotions change with age, as shown by Riley's parents. Meaning Pixar could keep making these forever, and I will keep watching. Don't get me wrong, I love Cars, it's one of my favorite Pixar films, but it did not need sequels. Anyway, with both Inside Outs, the filmmakers show a keen understanding in how best to personify abstract concepts, to make them both fun for kids and illuminating for adults. For example, anxiety makes an appearance here, and as someone who struggles with it, I could easily use this character to help others understand how it feels. The cherries on top for me were the sarcasm and brainstorm puns. Day 23, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, an enjoyable caper based loosely on a true story. Guy Ritchie is great at directing ensemble pieces. The actors always have a lovable rapport between each other with a lot of cheeky, typically British banter, alongside some stylish camera work and a fun score. However, there was a problematically severe lack of peril or threat to their mission. Everything came quite easily to them, so the victory ended up seeming unearned. This feels like a disservice to the actual history, where it was a hugely risky endeavour undertaken by brave and presumably less overtly cocky men and a less involved woman. Indeed, only Marjorie comes close to death, but just as we see the shackles, she's saved, with the threat of our only real antagonist Heinrich never coming to fruition. Day 24, Red One, a star-studded Christmas film that draws inspiration from mythology. All I need from films in this genre is a good premise and some cheesy festive fun, and you get both here, with some folklore thrown in to make things a bit less predictable. The box office flop was inevitable considering the high pay grade of the main actors. However, that's not my problem. Sure, I could pick this film apart, but it's really not worth it for a light-hearted family film about saving Christmas, though I am a little conflicted by how much I found myself agreeing with the villain. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and switch on notifications so you don't miss future videos, and comment below with your thoughts on the films. For more film content, feel free to follow us on Letterboxd and TikTok, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.